Hello everyone, and here we have a new story. Before we get to that, I want to ask you to subscribe, like, and be sure to write comments in order to participate in the development of the community. Write how to improve my community, current topics in the stories you are interested in, and much more. I read and listen to all the comments. People write me stories by mail from different countries. There are problems with translation. I apologize for this. I will work on it and try to fix these errors. I want to thank everyone for their support and the people who wrote to me by mail. Broadcast news stories. New videos on my channel are published once every 2 days at 7 p.m. Don't forget to put a bell in order not to miss new videos. And now let's go. Hello, I want to tell you my story. I've been married for 3 years. We lived in the apartment of my wife's parents. Her parents lived in another city, but regularly were with us. My wife's mother has a country house. My wife got pregnant after a year of our relationship. The circumstances of my wife's pregnancy caused me doubts. But later, I let go of this situation. My doubts were that we used to protect ourselves during sex. But lately, she has taken the initiative not to protect herself. She was very insistent on it. She told me that she didn't have enough male hormones inside. I tried my best to avoid sex, and we didn't have sex for about 3 weeks. At the same time, I didn't feel well. During the week, I had a temperature of 38 degrees. As a result, on the day when my wife's red days were supposed to begin, I couldn't avoid having sex without a condom. After a while, she tells me that she feels pregnant. My wife's cycle of red days is floating, and they can stay for a week. And now it's been 3 weeks since we had sex without a condom. My wife does an express pregnancy test and shows that it is positive. There were changes in the family, and I decided to get a divorce. Tell me why. I don't see any point in developing this topic. In general, I filed for divorce after a very strong scandal. At that time, my wife and I were 25 years old. I moved in with my mother. My wife's lawyer is submitting a statement for the divorce hearing. They asked for alimony for maintenance, since the child is not yet 3 years old. As a result, I have to pay alimony in the amount of 25% for the child and a fixed amount for my wife. My wife has been issued a writ of execution for both decisions. I am a fool. I voluntarily write applications and ask to transfer finances in accordance with the details below. I bring my wife money every month on receipt. In December of the same year, I felt ill again and passed tests. At the same time, I passed a sperm test. The analysis shows insufficient sperm activity. As a result, 6 months after the divorce, I decided to conduct a DNA study. In order to conduct a DNA study, I need appointment of the court. By the way, I told you that my wife has her parents' apartment in my city, but her parents lived in another city and rented housing. My wife went to live with them 2 months after the divorce. She and my child were registered at her parents' apartment. My lawyer is drafting a statement of claim for me with demands to exclude my paternity. As part of this, I'm asking for a DNA examination in the application. At the same time, my lawyer first calls my wife and offers to accept the claims voluntarily. Naturally, my wife refuses and calls me, then my mom, and throws tantrums on the phone. 1 month after filing the application to the court. By the way, the application is submitted to the federal court. We have a preliminary discussion scheduled, but my wife didn't come to it. The court clerk is calling my wife, and my wife is very surprised that an appointment has been made. She was with a child in another city. The conversation is postponed for 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, my ex-wife shows up for a second conversation. I make demands, but my wife refuses to accept them. She is filing a motion to move the court to her city of residence. The court issues a ruling on the transfer of the case to her city. On the advice of my lawyer, I am filing a complaint because my ex-wife and child are registered in my city. My child goes to kindergarten in my city. I provide certificates to the court about it. My ex-wife responds by sending an objection by registering with her friend. In July, the court is considering my complaint and my wife's objection. My complaint remains unsatisfied. The case is being transferred on the objection of my wife. 3 weeks later, the case finally reaches my ex-wife's city of residence. A month later, we have a second preliminary conversation scheduled. I state everything as it is and again demand an examination. My ex-wife is evading the conversation again and is not at the court session. Surprisingly, This time she was in my city. I'm very curious to know about her objection. She said that if the examination is to be conducted in my area, then the child should be taken by train, and he does not tolerate train travel well. In general, she just puts a spoke in my wheels. The judge does not hesitate to schedule a DNA examination for mid-August. After the court hearing, my wife's father attacks me with threats. I'm quoting his words. "Stay here, you idiot, and don't go anywhere. Now I'm going to bury you here." Naturally, I didn't wait for anyone. I went and reported it to the police. I waited for my train at the police station so that I could safely return to my city. My wife came to the DNA examination with our child and her father. The procedure is as follows. Swabs are taken from me, our child, and my wife. The samples are then sealed. Then a photo of me, the child, and my wife. They take a common photo, which is then attached to the case. 2 weeks later, I called the court office and was informed about it by phone. According to the results of the examination, the child is yours. Court sessions in 2 weeks chronologically fall on September. On the advice of my lawyer, I am preparing a motion for DNA re-examination. I come an hour before the meeting to familiarize oneself with the case. I'm complaining about inaccuracies in the protocol. It says that the DNA examination was carried out in the presence of 2 medical professionals. Their signatures were on the protocol. I insist on a video recording of the DNA examination. Although before the start of the study, the expert took away my video camera. He was trying to delete an entry that I had already made. By the way, this time my wife comes to the court session with a lawyer. They're both happy, and I hear them talking about moral damage and so on. The judge asks me, "Have you already dispelled your doubts? Why do you need a second DNA examination?" What other evidence do you have? Because I see no reason to do a second study. Moreover, the DNA test is one of the evidence that is considered in the aggregate. To my surprise, the judge gives me a week to collect evidence. I'm making a photocopy of the medical certificate. I had kidney surgery as a child. I suffer from pyelonephritis. I had an exacerbation during conception. This is confirmed by a medical certificate. In addition, I have passed sperm tests. After a while, I come to the next court session. The faces of my wife and her lawyer are sad for some reason. I present all collected medical certificates and ask for a re-examination of the DNA in the laboratory of a higher authority. At this point, my wife's lawyer stands up and asks for permission to speak. The lawyer says that if I don't want to be a father, then please. The only request is not to charge my wife for the trial and DNA examination. I am very glad that this hemorrhoids is over. The judge rules in my favor. Thus, I took revenge on my wife, leaving her without means of livelihood. I will briefly describe my wife's infidelity. She had sex with her lover while we were living together. I started to suspect her, but I couldn't catch her red-handed. By the way, who did not understand the child is not mine? I did a DNA test 3 times and the results showed that I am not the father of the child. I still can't understand why it once showed me that I was a father. It could be a medical error. After a while, my wife confessed everything to me. She asked for forgiveness and wanted to return our relationship. After the hell I've been through, it's impossible. I'm traveling at the moment. I've started a new life and I wish everyone who is in a similar situation to start a new life too. If you like the story, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so as not to miss new videos. Now let's move on to the opinion of the author of the channel. The opinion of the author of the channel. According to tradition, I want to wish our hero strength and patience. After listening to your story, I realized that you did not want to share the details of your divorce, but the fact of infidelity and pregnancy from another man remains a fact. So you made the right decision. You have experienced an unreal hell. I have faced the courts myself. It is very exhausting mentally. In general, move forward and live for your pleasure. We have 2 lives. When does the second one start? Then when we realize that life is just one. Good luck to everyone. If you have watched to the end, I want to say thank you very much. I love you all. Thank you for joining me on this exciting journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. I appreciate your support and encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this story. Your participation and feedback are invaluable for shaping our content and promoting mutual understanding and community growth. Until we meet again.